Good evening, my Teaserking family. Quite the show tonight. We got Egon, we got Allidstar, we got the professor talking whatever we want. Just a happy night. How's everybody doing? I'm fine. My feet are fine. My back's got that nerve, but just grinning through it. Everything's good. Work's going well. It's funny. I didn't pay my rent. I set it up as automatic pay. So I go go to the office. They go, well, it didn't. There was a computer thing. I go, yeah, but it's already the 16th. I paid on the 1st. Why didn't anybody tell me? So I happen to get my mail, and I see that they didn't. And then they wanted to charge me a $75 late fee, which they're going to reimburse because it's set up as auto pay. So anyway, this was a computer problem. So wait till it really hits, and then we'll see what happens. So anyway, so work's going well. It looks like Russia's getting their ass kicked in this war. Ukraine's winning like 10-3 right now. They're just, well, it's really the U.S. and all the other countries are starting to turn up the heat because they don't want the gold-backed currency, but it won't really matter. The U.S. is fucked, even though gold and silver went down from a standpoint of so gold goes down. It's this manipulation by J.P. Morgan, but we've got Egon and we've got Egon and Alice. We're going to start with Egon. So I had showed you the video where they are both doing the conference in Frankfurt, and they had that fireside chat for a half hour, both of them together. Then I saw today where they actually had their lectures, and they're both about a half hour long, and Egon's just saying the same premise. He's like, I don't look at the price of gold. I don't look at that because I know that the value of the dollar will go down because the value of the dollar can't go up. So he just knows, well, it's just a matter of time till I know the value of the dollar drops, the value of the gold goes through the roof. I don't worry about it. And it's been going up and up and up for a long time. I mean, since 71, it was 35. It's now 2000. So he's like, it just keeps going up. But I think what he was saying is you don't really buy it with the hopes of it goes to 50,000. But in this situation, yeah, we do hope it goes to 50. But who knows what 50,000 is going to be? And when the dollar goes out, who knows what the price will be? It'll be much higher. And it'll buy a lot because it'll be the only thing that can buy. So I want to sell my car, my house. There's nothing you can't buy it with. What are you going to buy it with? Euros, British pounds? No. All that fiat money will not buy it. Bitcoin won't buy it. What if I don't take Bitcoin? The CBDCs, if they're not backed by gold, they won't last. They're the same as this. Always remember, currency is not backed by anything, or as they call it, have an anchor. No, currency with an anchor of gold will always stay. A currency without an anchor, without anything backed by gold, will always go to zero. That's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so, and that's what happens. And that's what's happening now. Now they can keep it alive a little bit longer, but it's all a fantasy. It's only good because people want it to be good because a lot of people have a lot of fake money. They made a lot of money in fiat, the paper bullshit, like Tesla, like Facebook. All these guys have made a lot of fake money. And that's why there's a lot of billionaires now. It's all fake. It's not real money. Or you get the Teslas that don't have any money, but their stock's worth a lot. Why is their stock worth anything? They haven't produced the cars, the electric cars. They're not going to do anything. I read something about Lincoln where they're still keeping a gas-powered Lincoln, and people are like laughing at it, going, "Well, it's not, it's obsolete." So they think an electric car obsoletes the gas cars? They're out of their minds. One thing Egon says today, which we'll get to, is that fossil fuels, you cannot live without fossil fuels, and it's never going to go. Then he had a chart where he showed since like the Stone Age that the temperature's always kind of fluctuated. It's not a big deal. In other words, to go to an electric car because you think of the climate change or it's getting warmer is a fantasy. Is just the same fantasy that the dollar is good and that the digital currency. He did say, well, it's control, but it won't last. But again, he did make a comment about gold versus silver, that it's more volatile than gold. But in my mind, I'm buying $30 silver. I'm not really worried about the volatility of it. But I might, when it hits 2000, I might trade it in for, some ounces of gold, but I'm not really worried that silver's not going to be worth a lot more. Again, it's volatile on COMEX, not in the real world. So I'm back for the club. So I'm adjusting to getting up early to go to work. I would get up sometimes early, but I'd stay in bed and I'd turn on Netflix or I'd go back to sleep. And then, then I'd do our class at 11:30. But I'm doing this. This isn't work. This is play. And so I'm working, and it's just I'm sitting here all day, and it tires me out. It hurts my back. And so I got to adjust to that. I got to get up, and once I get into the groove, I get up and I'll walk around, or I'll go to the store or something. Once I do that, now I get my first paycheck Friday, but it's only for 4 days. And then in 2 weeks, I'll get a full 10-day paycheck, and that'll finally be good. I think I'll get one more Social Security payment, which is totally fine. And then I'm done with unemployment. So it was handy for when I needed it. Now I'll get more than I got on that, and one paycheck will take care of that, which is the fallacy of Social Security. It's supposed to actually pay you what you made in a month, and it's not even. It's 1/3 of what I would make in a month, which is ridiculous. How little it is, and then it's and it's inflated because it's in dollars, not in gold. I think I'll go look for some more gold. If he doesn't have it, I can go to Ann Arbor, where I used to, and order some if I want, and order probably another 2 or 3 ounces once I start getting my full paychecks, a couple of them. I don't know what to do with my credit cards because I want to pay them down a little bit because of the trips and the gold I've been buying. But on the other hand, if I believe they're going to zero and they're going to reset, I don't want to pay too much. But with the money, it either goes to the credit card or the gold. I can't keep it in money. So we shall see. NBA Sunday, Boston kills Philly. Where was that all series? And again, it really wasn't a play. If you like Philly, it was a minor, very light play. And if you like Boston, it was a very light play. But now we see how Boston can play. So now we got to respect Boston a little bit more when they play Miami. You would think they can beat Miami just for the fact that Miami is the 8th seed, but we will see. Let's see. When we look at the NBA, so tonight the Nuggets were 6 over the Lakers. This is game 1. I don't know. Let's see. This is tonight, 5:16. Yeah, let's see if we. Game starts at 8:30, so it just started. 18-9 Denver. All right. Let's see if we get a line on the other game. Boston 8 over Miami. I don't know. Did Miami pick up a few? Was Jerry West and Jordan playing for them that all of a sudden they're beating the 1 seed and the 2 seed and everything? So we got to get a grip now. I think Boston in the back against the wall game here, I would bet them. I think they're the better team, but when they get the backs against the wall, but it wouldn't surprise me if they lost the first game after an emotional win. So again, NBA, let's watch right now as we get deeper into the series. You get the backs against the wall games. That's when we come out. So right now, nothing there. As I said, gold, 1992 down 22. And if you notice, it went down around that 10 o'clock time. And there's really no reason. The dollar's up versus the other currencies, the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard. It's got really nothing to do with it. To me, the best way to describe gold is it's like a Rolex. It's an asset that has value. That what the dollar does, if it's up or down, or if it's a good economy or bad, really is irrelevant. Does it matter what the dollar's doing for you to invest in a Rolex? So you buy a $50,000 Rolex, probably a gold Rolex, I would imagine. Does it matter what the dollar's doing to make it worth $60,000, or to make my Montana rookie go to $100,000? Does it matter what the dollar's doing? I wouldn't think so. I think it's individually based on the demand for that particular thing. So if there's a lot of demand for the Rolex, for that particular Rolex, then it would go higher, or any of the Rolexes. If everybody wants to get a Rolex, then the demand goes up, the price goes up. Same thing with gold. It doesn't really matter what the dollar does. If there's demand for gold, then the price of gold should go up regardless if people want to use it. Now, this bullshit of it's not an investment and it's not, well, it's only good if the economy goes bad. It's a bunch of horse shit. Gold's gold. It's good any time because it's an asset. Just like your house going up. It doesn't have to be a good or bad economy. Is there demand for your house? Is there demand for gold? Which there always should be, because it's always safety. It's insurance. It's going to go up. It's a value. It's a good value to have. So definitely want to get more of it. It's funny. No matter how much I have, I want more. That's the strange part about gold and silver. No matter what you got, you get more. And the banks are collapsed. So right now the banks are collapsing. Is going to just zoom gold up, and then that's going to blow up the currency and the economy. And then here comes Russia, China with the gold-backed currency, and then it's all over. So I don't know what I'm trying to figure out. What the hell? Jamie Dimon, the J.P. Morgan manager, flies to China. What is he going to? Okay, we'll do derivatives here. And you think the Chinese are going to do derivatives? They want the price to go up. There's no incentive for them to keep the price down. So that's what we want is free market in gold. We don't want it controlled. The derivatives control it, as you can see, 19 down 22 to 1992 doesn't make any fucking sense except for if you want to buy it. So when I go buy some, I can go buy silver now. It was 26, it's now 23.77. $4 over, I can buy it for 27.77. I got to go buy more of it. Gold at 1992, figure 100, so figure 2100. It's still a screaming buy. Again, knowing that the system's collapsing, it's got to go through the roof. Now the Jamie Dimons are trying to keep the price down to keep the dollar going, but it won't really matter. The key to the dollar is going to be the foreigners. The foreigners have $7 trillion in the stock market and the banking system. They don't want to keep their money in the banking system or the stock market. So as they pull it out, that's when everything crashes. And they're not stupid. They don't want their money in. These are smart, rich people. They don't want to lose their money. So they're going to pull it out. It's not really the U.S. with money in the stock market. It's more the foreigners who go, oh, I'll buy Apple and Amazon and Microsoft. They don't know. They don't know shit. They get stock to buy. But as the banks are collapsing, they'll pull their money out, which will then collapse it. And that's what's happening. So regardless, that's exactly what's going on. And that's why we're in gold and silver, because it will never go down. Gold and silver can't go down. This bullshit COMEX is not real. So once we get it to a real physical, which we should get soon, that you'll never see gold go down. You'll never see it go to zero. So it's just going to be delightful that we'll be fine with that. What else? What was I talking about? There's something I was talking about. I don't know. There was a few comments I was going to make, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. Football, we're waiting to see what Brady does. Denver's going to be very tough. So are the Jets. San Diego, they didn't get enough defensive help. No, neither did Miami. Neither did Oakland. Pittsburgh should have went after Stenson Bennett. They had a terrible mistake there. Baltimore, they got Lamar Jackson. That's not good. So the same, it's pretty much very similar. The bad defensive teams didn't get the defensive help. Why Philly got all these guys from Georgia, I don't understand. However, Philly did need defensive help, but in their division, it won't really matter. The Giants, Dallas, they don't have Washington. They don't have offenses. Maybe they play the Jets. I don't know, but we'll see. But I did do week one, which I talked about last week. So I think what I'll do is Tuesday, Thursday night. I was so tired I ate, and then I had a nap, and then I went swimming, and so now I'm on now. And what time? I really can't be on at 11. I could be on at 4:30, but I'm working all day and I'm getting tired. So it's just I need a break. Plus, I can't sit. My back hurts if I sit too long, and I'm sitting all day. So until I start standing up and walking around a little bit and icing myself, my back, I probably won't do 4:30. I'll probably eat and go swim and then do it around this time, Tuesday, Thursday. So with that, let's go to the Egon. Now, Egon, I've got a bunch of times. Let's go to the 6-minute mark.
can save small banks, but they can't save the big banks. So then it's only a question of money printing until the money is worthless. That's why you really have to worry about your money now. It's not a question of making a return. It's a question of survival. And in my view, personally, I hardly have any assets in the banking system because I think it is bankrupt. And therefore, don't think about earning a lot of money on your money. Think about protecting what you have, because it's only by protecting it you have a financial or economic life after today.
So that's why we buy gold and silver. It's to protect it. We know at the end of the day, gold and silver will be there. Gold and silver can never go to zero, and we know that, right? We understand it's not going to zero. As Egon just said, everything's bankrupt. So you're trying to make 10% and you buy Microsoft stock out of your freaking mind. You're going to be lucky to keep your money, more or less make 10%, and you're making 10% of an inflated dollar. You're not even making anything. So that's the other reason you're into gold and silver, is to not lose your money that you have. You don't want to lose that. So that's really the key to it, is right now you're just trying to hold on to your money. So that's why another reason we buy more gold and silver is because if you have money, you need to get it into gold and silver. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. So this job enables me to pull my money out of my safe and put it more into gold and silver. Because you need some money to pay your bills, right? However, with my paychecks coming in, and they're way more than the bills, then I can pay it. And then with a lot of the money, I can then buy gold and silver with it and not really keep any money in the bank. So my goal is not to keep much in the bank, a couple thousand. The rest of it is in buying more gold and buying more silver, and whatever I have left goes in the safe. Now, maybe I go play poker with that, but I'd rather buy silver and gold than play poker, to tell you the truth. Why risk money at poker, having aces and some guy flops a set against you, when I could just buy gold and silver and it's going to go up? There's absolutely no reason. Okay, back to you, Egon.
Now, this, of course, crashes of this magnitude, end of eras, always finish with a debt explosion and then implosion. And that's what we are seeing now, and the explosion is still going to take maybe a few years. We don't know how long, but as you can see here, the debt has gone from 4 trillion global debt in 1971. 71 is the obvious starting date for all of us who understand gold, because that's when Nixon closed the gold window. And then we are over 300 trillion debt today. And what I'm putting up here is the potential that 3 quadrillion means that the outstanding derivatives today, which are probably over 2 quadrillion, but we don't know what they are, because we don't even know what 2 quadrillion means, to be honest with you. Nobody does. But it does mean bankruptcy, that's for certain. And that what I'm saying here is this, because you have the whole shadow banking system. We don't know the figures from that. But what it does mean is that central banks are likely to print money of a hyperinflationary magnitude to try to save this until the money becomes worthless, and then the game is over. But even if we take away the derivatives from this, you're still probably talking about 500 trillion by 2030. And the world cannot cope with that, especially when interest rates, as Alice has said, I agree with, interest rates are going to go up substantially. And nobody can finance the debt outstanding when they do. Now, this little graph here I've been showing for actually since Obama handed over to Trump, 2017. And basically, what it shows is the deficit or the increase in U.S. debt for every president. So everyone loved Reagan, of course. But he trebled the debt from 900 billion to 2.6 trillion. So that's three. And then over time, on average, every 8 years, U.S. debt has doubled. So that's why, in 17, I forecast that it was going to go 40 in 25. And I think we're on our way there. It could even be more, because I think a lot of money will be printed in the next few years or in the next couple of years. The problem is here that, as you see, tax revenue goes up 8 times in 71, and debt goes up 35 times. How the hell do you think that the U.S. debt is going to be repaid? Well, it won't, of course. The only way to repay it is to print more money. That's the only thing they know. But of course, as Einstein told us, you can't solve a problem by the same means that created the problem. And that's what they are doing. That's why it'll fail.
So basically, what do I say? The more you print, the less it's worth. What are they doing? They're printing more. This is what the problem with Keynesians. Keynesians don't believe in gold. They believe to fix this problem, you print money. The more you print, the less it's worth. So they're in like Nazi Germany, where they printed the money and you needed a wheelbarrow. Well, that's exactly what's happening. And they're retarded, these people. These are idiots that are in charge. The way out is gold. If you have gold, you don't have any of this problem, right? You can't print. You can't have inflation. You will never have inflation with gold, and you won't blow up your thing. So what you're doing is blowing it up, and that's what Egon's saying. The more you're printing, it's just going to collapse it faster and faster. Is that really, are they doing this really on purpose to blow up the U.S., or is it these guys are a bunch of freaking morons? They're going to run the Lions. They'll be the next coaches of the Detroit Lions. They are doing it because this is what Keynesians do. They think they can print. So when I hear, well, it's part of the plan, that's bullshit. These people are just morons, and they think that they can just keep printing. So if I owe rent, I'll just print it. I'll just go to the printing press and print my rent and pay them rent, and I'll just keep printing the rent, keep printing money for rent, and that's going to pay my rent. And the problem is, the more I print, the less. So now I got to print $500 more and $1,000 more to get the same value out of it. So this is a real bad problem that's happening. And anyway, I'll just keep playing.
The consequence, there are always consequences. Either the dollar goes to zero, and other currencies, of course, and then they're on their way, as we have already discussed today, or the US defaults, or both. Of course, officially, US will not default. They will just print more money, but that's still a technical default, because if you print money which has no value, that is a default. Same with GDP. GDP is bought by printed money. So here you have, since 71, that debt's gone from 1.7 to 90 trillion in the US. This is US total debt. And GDP has gone from 1 trillion to 24. So debt is up 53 times and GDP 22. Again, we're just buying ourselves prosperity on credit. That's what the world is doing. This is not real values. When this implodes one day, the debt will implode and all the asset values will implode also. You can't write off the debt on the one hand if you don't actually also write off the assets. Have to come down because they're backing the debt. And that's what we're going to see in the next few years, in my view. The other problem.
So that's kind of what I say. The money will be worthless. Your credit card payment and your house mortgage will go to zero because your assets will go to zero. So the money in the bank goes to zero. Your credit card, you owe 10 grand, now it's zero. You owe a mortgage, now it's zero. You owe your car payment, now it's zero, because they're the assets that offset the credit. So everything goes to zero. So your credit card, you won't owe anything. But the money in the bank you won't have. So if you get the money out of the bank in the gold and silver, you're fine. That's how we beat Alabama here. All right.
Is that so? We have today an amount of central bank gold in the roughly in the 35 trillion, something like that. But the derivative, if you're looking here, the 2 trillion central bank gold. Sorry, that's a total. Sorry, that's a total. The 2 trillion that's backing this of central bank gold is 0.016%. And how do you think that you can support the whole system with virtually no gold? You can't. So therefore, as Allidstar also said, and we talked about in an interview today, gold will have to be revalued, even if it only fractionally supports the system.
So there you go. They got to revalue gold to help pay for everything. There it goes. It ain't going to go down. It's going to go up. So we just have to be patient. We're holding the trump card. The gold and the silver are the trump cards. And as long as we have it, that's the only way out of this mess. They can't keep printing. They have to go to gold. So we're fine. We're going to sit there and just be patient. And, takes a little bit of time. And then all of a sudden they revalue it. We're superstars.
Now, my view has always been that central banks should not exist.
Mine too.
They are a menace to the system.
Yes.
They create enormous fluctuations of booms and busts rather than having nature's law leveling off these excesses up and down. And when supply is too high, then there'll be demand coming in because it's cheap, and then the other way around, when everything's too expensive, it'll come down. But here, what bankers are is that they're just putting fuel on the fire. That's all they know. And then, but of course, on the other hand, the biggest central bank in the world is a private bank, as you know, owned by private banks and bankers. And of course, every banker loves a crisis, because at the end of the day, they'll come out of it making more money. For example, in 2008, most of the investment banks in America were bankrupt. So I have a son-in-law who's at Morgan Stanley, managing director on Morgan Stanley. And 2008, Morgan Stanley was bankrupt, as were Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. Of course, the people advising the Fed and the central banks are these banks. It's Jamie Dimon, it's Goldman Sachs head, etc., who's changed since then. But nevertheless, so they're telling the Fed what to do. And of course, and as you know, when these massive losses in the banking system, no banker was ever accused of anything. And my son-in-law, who 2008, when he was over the Morgan Stanley was almost bankrupt and was saved, as I said, by the Fed and Japanese bank, he got the same bonus as the previous year. Like all the other bankers also, of course, they were telling the system that, we will lose all these guys. The fact that there were no banks to go to because they're all bankrupt, it didn't matter. So they kept all the people and paid them more. And it's a wonderful system. And this is why these guys smoking cigars here are having a good life. That will come to an end. Yeah, so their appetite is massive. And because they are obviously gluttonous or very greedy. This is gargantua. Louis XV and Madame Pompadour. Because it was, I had actually in previous one, but was Bernanke in there with a beard, but we had, this was Madame Pompadour when they lost, when France lost a war against Prussia in 1756, I think it was. They knew that was the end for France, and this is what Madame Pompadour, who was the mistress of Louis XV, of course, said to him, "Après nous le déluge," after us the flood. And of course, then that turned into the French Revolution and the failure of France. So, and that's what we're going to see now again, drowning in money. So I wrote an article already 2010 or 8, about the dark years are here. And I think they will be. We're going to have some tough times in the world, very difficult times. And of course, as always happens at the end of an era, it gets worse by the actions of the governments or central bankers. Where, the sanctions, for example, that US imposed on the West and all Western countries. And that is criminal what they've done. And it's absolutely incredible that countries like Germany, France, UK, etc., that they all agree to these sanctions because they're shooting themselves in the foot, or even worse, in the head. Is killing Germany, therefore is and it's going to kill the system. Okay, we could say that it was going to happen anyway. So actually, these actions fit into the pattern of that. The worst that could happen will happen because we are at the end of an era. And of course, Europe and we're at the end of a cultural era, an economic era also, which means that the West will fall. And again, as we talked about, and Allidstar also talked about, the power is going to gradually move across to the east and east to the commodity-based countries. How long that will take, we don't know. Obviously, it's a gradual process, and it will take some time. But nevertheless, we know that the Western system is finished, sadly. And in our children or grandchildren, not children, grandchildren or their children, they will be au pairs in China instead. Yeah, that's how the world turns. So we have all these strong organizations, the BRICS, the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, etc. They're going to take over the power because they're all asset based or manufacturing based, and those currencies, whether they will be gold backed totally or supported by gold, we don't know. But they, as Allidstar again said, and I agree with those figures, that both China and Russia have a lot more gold than they're declaring, whilst the US probably don't even have half of it, or nor does Germany probably, because half of Germany's gold is still abroad. And you know that when they tried to repatriate 50%, they were told that they had to wait a few years because there wasn't any gold there to deliver. And I don't think the central bank, I don't think the Fed has anywhere near the 8,000. They've lent it to the market. And it's now in China or in India. It's not here anymore, sadly. Now, this question is, how long does it take to fill a stadium, football stadium, with water if you have 1 drop per minute and then increase it to two drops, 4 drops, double it every time? So how long does it take? 1 month, 1 year, 1 day? No, it takes 50 minutes. It takes 50 minutes by first 1 drop and they double it, 2, 4, etc. It takes 50 minutes. And after 45 minutes, the pool isn't 75, or the stadium is 75, 90% full. It's 7% full after 45 minutes. The final 5 minutes goes from 7 to 100. And this explains speculation, hyperinflation, and how quickly things can go in the end. And if you can explain the same with population. I think we are at the population bubble also, like all other bubbles. Population has gone from a bit.
So what he's saying is we won't see the inflation until it's too late. So like in Germany, they were doing things, and then all of a sudden the hyperinflation came in and Katie barred the door, you were getting killed. And that's what he's saying. That's why I am so adamant about buying the gold and silver now, because at the end, you're not going to see it. It's going to fill the stadium the final 5 minutes. And so you'll be going around, inflation's 10%, 20%, gold's, $5,000, and then boom, gold goes to 50,000. Inflation goes through the roof. Prices are, so this is why you must prepare now. You can't wait and look at it and see it happening, because when it gets to the shit starts hitting the fan, it hits fast and hard. And that's what I keep warning about. That's why when I say buy your gold and silver now, while you can get it at these prices, is because once it really gets going and we're near the end, you're not going to be able to find it. And it's going to be 50,000 at least. And you're going to, you're fucked if you don't have it. So I'd rather have it and sleep well at night and know I got, so many ounces of gold and silver. And if the shit hit the fan tomorrow, I'd be fine. I'd be like, okay. But as long as it's not, I'm going to go buy more and more and more. So that's really what he's saying with that example.
In 1850 to 8 billion today. And that, if you look at any curve of a bigger sample, like we talk about here from what, 10, order from 10,000 BC, any curve that goes exponential at the end never ever just stops and goes up again. It always crashes. It might not crash from here. It could be from a bit higher. It will crash, and it will, in my view, crash at least by 50%. So we are going to see, for what is a reduction in world population in the next 50 or 75 years or whatever. Whether that's going to be economics or famine or war, disease, we don't know. And it could be a combination of all of that, but it's going to happen. That's absolutely certain. In my view, I have to add that. My wife said, are we going to make it? Yeah. Well, we did, because we didn't have the leverage that people have today. And we were already used to higher interest rates. So this was tough, but today, when people are borrowed at 1% everywhere, mortgages, and all of a sudden it goes up to 5 now, 6 in many countries. People are not going to afford this. You add the energy price and everything else, the normal people are not going to afford it. And in my view, we are, rates have turned. There's no question about it. And for many reasons, Allidstar explained also the whole banking situation. That they actually need to charge higher rates to attract money, and also they're going to have a lot of bad debts. But but central banks are going to lose control of interest rates. And in my view, one of the big reasons for rates going up to maybe 15-20% again is that there'll be massive sell-off in debt. Sovereign and also private debt. And that sell-off is going to drive interest rates higher. And again, central banks will lose control totally. And of course, that's untenable for the world with the debt growing as it is. That's why we're going to see the collapse. Now, like many people who are interested in gold for long-term wealth preservation reasons, I'm against a lot of the things that are happening in the world today, and I have no belief whatsoever in global warming being caused by man. And I'm showing here a 10,000-year-old graph of climate or average temperatures in the northern hemisphere, and you can see we've had cold period here. And even you take is there? I don't know. You see the Roman climate optimum. For example, in Rome, around the birth of Christ, it was the weather was tropical. It was tropical. So we've had this, and I haven't seen in any picture any cars from Rome. or planes. So so I think they've got it wrong, sadly. The climate. So I believe that climate cycles are cycles, and that we can't do anything about, and the human impact is marginal at best on this. And of course, this hysteria with stop oil, in the UK where I spent some time because I live there, the people glue themselves to the road stop the traffic for a whole day or 2 or 3, paralyze the economy. They should be shot. And they should just saw them away or cut them off. We cannot live without fossil fuels. I know I'm not very politically correct, but I believe it. And if somebody believes in the climate system being caused by man, then of course I apologize to you. But I have strong views on this. So this is tells you that fossil fuels are 83% today. That's the blue section here. That's only going to come down slightly. And you look at renewables, 6% is also increasing very, very slowly. But the big problem, and then you have nuclear and hydro, which clearly is also very limited. And what we'll come to that later, but what countries are doing now, trying to stop oil, stop coal. The world cannot function. The world will collapse. Anything, this I hold here, this, you can't make it with wind power because you can't even store the wind power. And sure, batteries will improve, but that takes a long, long time. In the meantime, the world will collapse without fossil fuels. Maybe in 100 years' time, but this is a 50-year or 2050 or mid-century, roughly, this projection. The other problem we have in the world that we actually reached peak oil from the point of view of producing it at an acceptable cost, because the cost of producing oil and burning fossil fuels is going to increase dramatically in total in the world. Precious metals are very dependent on energy. And that will be another reason why precious metal mining stocks hopefully will go up as long as they can cover their costs. Some of you have seen that. Barrick, for example, of $1,700 cost. So the cost, but that's what we have to pay for now. But there's no chance whatsoever, in my view, to see fossil fuels being replaced in the next 50 years by any other fuel. If it does, the world will collapse, which it might do anyway, as I've said before. So sadly, Germany had a leader who didn't understand any of this. And you're shutting down nuclear and shutting down coal, which is the energy that is needed in Germany for Germany to function. Oh, that's a disaster. And therefore, it's obviously going to affect all of Europe. And it's affecting the US also. When they started the sanctions, they never thought it would affect them. Of course it does. And then you have, the biggest energy reserves in the world, or resource reserves in the world. Where is that? In Russia. They got $85 trillion of reserves in resources. So that's what the energy is, and that's why one day China and Russia and the East, of course, will take over, which is not going to be a good prospect for us either, sadly. So, leaders don't understand there are consequences of all the actions, and so many actions are taken without thinking about consequences, like this guy here who's trying to kick. So we have all of these incredible potential triggers for this explosion. Obviously the debts, central banks, digital currencies, which is going to fail in the end, although they will still implement it, and then trade wars. In Roman times, the Romans acquired big parts of Europe, parts of Asia, parts of North Africa, but there was always free trade, always free trade. That's what keeps the world moving. And what the West has done, and of course, Europe is just a little poodle, a lapdog to the US, and US decides everything, and everybody follows, even Germany, sadly, which is used to be a big, powerful nation. And therefore, these are some of the things that will make the system explode. Of course, there are interesting things here also, like uranium or commodities, well, you will have a commodity boom. Of course we will have. And that's why we'll have this move to the east and to the south. Today, still everybody lives under the impression that market is always, it's only correction. What's going to happen now is only correction. And of course, central banks have spoiled them. And because so far, I've been, in my working life, I've been through the 73-4 collapse, the 87 collapse of markets, and then, of course, the NASDAQ one, and then 2008 one. And every time, and this is why you see money printing and credit going straight up, the world has been saved by fake money. It's worked for a while until somebody will say, the emperor is naked. There is actually, there's no real money in the system at all. And that's going to happen. Now, George Bernard Shaw, Pygmalion was my fair lady, of course, famous author. You have to choose between trusting to the natural stability of gold and the natural stability of the honesty and intelligence of the members of the government. And with due respect to these gentlemen, I advise you, as long as the capitalist system lasts, to vote for gold. Well, we know that gold is the only money that has ever survived in history. Every currency has gone to zero. So it's so easy, but every era, people believe it's different today. It isn't. So there are three kinds of money. You have 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. You have 100 grams of gold, and you have $100. Now, the until 1971. You could buy 3 ounces of gold for $100. Sorry, 3 ounces, 100 grams is 3 ounces roughly. For $100, today you buy a little corner of this gold bar here. That's what's happening to our money. And here you see what $1,000 bought. In 1913, it bought 48 ounces of gold. And today buys half an ounce of gold. So in 19...
So what that shows you is the value of the gold going down, or the value of the dollar going down. And that's how you understand what's happening. You can't see it in Cheerios and Coca-Cola like you can in gold. So when he's saying that, what he's saying is, they're printing the money. It's making it worth less and less and less. And here's the proof. And then when you see it takes more to buy the gold, even with COMEX holding it down, imagine if COMEX wasn't holding it down, which is what I keep saying. That's where I get 50,000 from, is when COMEX blows up, because there'll be too much demand. There's more demand for gold than there is gold. So once people want it and the price goes up and people still want it and the price will go up, COMEX, that's what he's saying. So that's the true. So because otherwise you keep seeing a $100 bill thinking it's worth $100, and it's not. It doesn't buy what $100 used to buy. And that's it's really the point. Excuse me. Long day. All right, back to
in the 1920s. Gold was about $20.67, $21 per ounce. This is an ounce of gold, a British sovereign. You want it? You can have a look. That's 1 ounce. That's real money. Most people haven't ever seen it. And if you go to the street and sell it to somebody for 10 euros, he will take it. You see, this is destruction. It's obvious. That's why gold is so important. So I know I'm running late. Luckily, our speaker. So until you throw me out, I will stand here. It's almost finished anyway. So gold you look here. This is an annual. This is me being the gold bug here. I'm not the gold bug. Gold is just the best protection against the consequences we have in the world. That's all. Not in love with gold in itself, but gold is the only thing that will protect you financially. There are lots of other things. So, you look at gold in dollars is up 7 times this century, and in euros is almost up 8 times, not quite. What is interesting here is gold is in an ongoing bull market, has been throughout history. Remember that. When people say gold is so volatile, it always goes. Look at this. In euros, gold has only gone down 1 year since 2000, and that's in 2013. 1 year. Look at that. And then there's a couple of sideways years here. But it shows you this is an incredibly strong gold market, bull market in gold, and it's going to continue because we're not talking about we should turn this chart upside down, and I'm doing it here. This is the Matra one, if you didn't know, which is the name of our company. Here you have gold in $71.35, and then you have now. So I have to look at the screen because they cover the bottom here. And now it's obviously down to and this is the only way to look at it. The only look at it is the fall of the currencies. You're not going to, it's not a question of gold going up. Gold doesn't go up. It just maintains its value. It's eternal money, constant purchasing power, and it's nature's money. That's why it's the only money that has survived. It's actually nature made it for us, not some central bank and not some king, but actually nature. And this is why. That's why you get no return on gold either. Because why do you have to have a return on something that's your own asset? And now, quickly, you see this long Maginot Line. This was what French built against the Germans for another attack from Germany. Of course, it didn't break for many years. In the end, of course, it did break, just like the Germans went around into Belgium, and there was no Maginot Line in Belgium, so they walked into to France via Belgium. So I forecast a few weeks before that was going to happen, and the same with the second one here. That has broken. We're actually gold fell before I started to talk. By the way, I want to point that out because gold is almost down to 2,000 when I started talking. So it wasn't during my speech. I don't want to say that. So but we have another. This is another consolidation for another move up, or turn it around for another move down in the currencies. That's what we're talking about. We never worried about gold price ever because we know it can only go one way because currencies can only go one way. The silver. This is a silver chart on a logarithmic scale. Silver is, as I said, is gold on stilts. It's much more speculative, more dangerous. You shouldn't have too much of it, but it's likely to move exponentially. So a small part, either in silver mining stocks or in silver itself, is right now a good investment in my view. It's not wealth preservation as gold, but it's a good investment. But you have to remember that gold goes down as fast as it goes up. So as silver goes up, down as far as it goes up. So therefore, got to be careful. It's not, as we say, say in English, for widows and orphans. It's not. But anyway, have some silver. This is my tip of the day. I normally don't tell people to buy something, but this is worth having. So, company, I started in '99, and we're only into wealth preservation, not into speculation, only into physical gold owned by the clients directly. As I said, since we started, we never worried about the gold price. Our investors are the people we help because they hold it their own name. They're people who buy and hold. They don't sell. They don't speculate in it. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I'm so sorry that I was too long.
There's our man Egon, just for you, Bobby. So, I mean, what do you take away from this? Is you buy gold, you don't worry about it. It's going to go up. You know the dollars are going to go down because they print. The governments aren't smart enough to have gold. They believe in Keynesian, which is print, 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 and we'll just keep printing money. And there's no assets. It's all credit. It's all bullshit. It's all it's all collapsing because it's a house of cards. It's not real. When I tell you to buy gold and silver, then it's because it's the real asset, right? As I said to you in Attack on Wall Street, the guy has 60 grand and he puts it in real estate trust and it's all gone. But if you had gold, it could never be because there's nobody with it. It's you own your gold and that's it. Nobody has a lien on it. Nobody can take it away, say it's worth zero, and it never goes down. It's so we know it's going up. So you can't lose with it. And I think that's the real key that people I don't think get. Well, it doesn't give a dividend. Yeah, but if it moves from 1,000 to do I need a dividend? I mean, it's not like it's Coca-Cola that sits at $40 a share and doesn't move and you get your 3% dividend. What would you rather have? Coke at $40 a share that doesn't move, that you get 3%, or gold that goes from 40 to 100? I mean, you'd rather have it go to 100. And the thing is, it's never going to zero. It can only go up. It's the safest safe haven. It's the safest insurance, and it still goes up in value. It's a beautiful thing. And everybody wants it. It's been around for 5,000 years. It's not going anywhere. So there's no negative about gold that I can understand. And you got to get out of the Titanic is what I keep saying. So you get out of the stock market, because what's going to happen is as people realize, like he said, there is no value. This doesn't have value. It doesn't. It's just paper. It's not backed by anything. It's paper, it's paper, it's paper. That's all it is. And every other currency, the yen, the British pound, the euro, they're all just paper. None of them are really worth because they're not backed by an anchor or gold. So therefore, all of them are going to zero. As he said, everything goes to zero. So when I'm telling you to get out of paper, that's why I'm telling you to get out of paper, because it's just paper. It's not money. They try to make it sound like money. Like I can go to Kroger's and buy groceries and eat, and I can pay my bills and pay my rent. And I go to work, I get paid in the currency, and then I use the currency. So, but if you're smart, what you do is you get paid in currency and you move it into gold. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years. I wish I was doing it earlier, but that's what you do is you take your currency that you get paid and move it into gold. And theoretically, I'm getting paid gold. And then I'm fine with that. And that's the only way because it's all going to collapse, and we're all going to get screwed if you just sit in money that's paper. If you sit in paper that's worth nothing, then eventually everybody's going to realize, like you said, the emperor's naked. It's worth wait a minute, this is paper. This isn't worth anything. And then the whole system collapses, and that's what's going to happen. And they keep trying to hide it with COMEX going, you don't want gold. Who would say that? Who in their right mind would try to say gold's worthless? I mean, you've got to be a fucking idiot. Mark Cuban's saying that. Obviously, he's an idiot. But how can you say that? I mean, I don't get a dividend on it. Who cares? It goes up. It'll go up thousands of dollars. When I say 50, again, it's priced in this shit. So as this shit goes out, it's not like the gold's going to lose value. The value of the gold will go up because now you have real money that is gold. And that's what Russia and the BRICS countries are doing. And the U.S. doesn't want it because it knows all we got's paper. We got toilet paper. And if they come out with the gold and they got it, now I heard today, I'm not going to play. I'm going to play Allidstar's on Thursday. What he's saying is that I lost my thought. Is that they're coming out with the dollar, with the gold back currencies, but they all know that the dollar's just paper and going to zero. They know that. I can't remember the thought I was going to say, but it'll pop back. Anyway, I think that's why I get so frustrated. I know gold's the real money and the dollar's paper and worthless. I know that. So I think I get frustrated when I'm in the sauna talking to the communist, or I'm talking to other people and I say buy gold and they look at me like I'm nuts, and I go, you're so brainwashed into thinking that the dollar has a value. The dollar doesn't have any value. Yes, the fact you can go, like I said, to the store or buy clothes with it, it's all a shell game. It's all the players are doing the same thing. Oh, okay, well, we'll take money. You want to buy a polo shirt? We'll take money for it. You give me this and you can have the shirt. It's all part of the circus, right? What are they doing? What would Polo be doing? So like I said, if I'm running any company, what I'm doing is taking my profit and buying gold with it. Taking my profit and buying gold with it. That's what I've been doing. That's what I told the idiots at the last job I was at, to buy gold. I said, you're going to be out of business. Because the whole first concept is you've got paper. Even if you make $1 million, it's not real money. You're just getting $1 million paper. You're not getting anything. I'll tell you, Gates, all those guys, they don't have anything. They have paper. The paper isn't worth anything. We know it. Egon just told you, and Allidstar's going to tell you. You have paper that isn't worth anything. The emperor's got no clothes, and that's the whole point. So if you know this is worthless, this is the Titanic, and that the only answer is gold and silver, then it makes it very obvious what to do. And obviously the central banks understand that. They're buying gold bars faster than they can swim. Now, it's a shame the bankers don't know this, or they're just waking up to it. Somehow Putin knows that, and so does Xi. So the Chinese know that, and the Russians know that, but the U.S. doesn't. We have no gold, as you heard Egon say. It's already sold to the Indians and Chinese, and the Russians we've lent or sold our gold to. There is no gold in Fort Knox. Hey, Eric. Oh, we're talking about Egon. Egon was at a presentation in Frankfurt, Germany with Allidstar. So I just played Egon's presentation. We'll do Allidstar's Thursday. Outside of that, it's just I'm working all day and I'm tired, so I don't really. It's 4:30. I'm too tired to do that. I'm tired of sitting, and so what I tend to. I had a quick dinner, went to the pool and hot tubbed and kind of ran around a little bit. And now I'm much more calm to do this. How about you, Eric? Are you okay? Everything all right? Watching baseball, oh God. You are a glutton for punishment, aren't you? Yeah, I mean, the basketball is hard enough to watch. I can't watch the basketball. But this should be an interesting, I don't know how good Denver is against the Lakers. And then you got Boston, Miami. So maybe you'll get Boston and Lakers again. I'm okay. Everything's good. Oh, that's good, Eric. That's what I like to hear. So I'm explaining how this is all paper. The euro, the British pound, the Swiss franc, the US dollar. This is not money. This does not have a value. And if you watch what I just showed you, that's what he talks about. So I'm recapping, and he is basically, the emperor has no clothes, is that all this is crap. None of this has a value. The only thing that has a value is gold, and that's what you got. So when you do get your paycheck, you pay your bills, and then the rest of your money you turn into gold and silver. Now, my guys run out of gold, and I don't know if people come into his store with the gold to get the money, he has gold. Otherwise, he doesn't. And so, but I can order it. So I think what I'll do, I might go to Ann Arbor and try to buy another 2 or 3 ounces of gold, just to keep buying it. Because now that I'm working again, then it's great. My boss can't believe how fast I am and how quickly I've learned it. I haven't even been there. I've been there 1 week today. I'm already doing these big projects for her that she probably thought would take a month, and I just did it in like 2 days, and she's blowing her mind. And in my world, it's a piece of cake. It's half of what I did at Mercedes. So I'm doing what I did at Mercedes. So it's like if I played shortstop for the Cubs and I went to the Tigers and I played shortstop. Oh my God, look how good you are. And well, that's what I did. I did play for the Cubs. And that's the thing. I played for Mercedes doing finance, doing Excel, doing SAP and projects and everything else. So to me, it's a piece of cake. Oh, this is what you want? Not a problem. My only problem is I got this little laptop, so it makes it difficult to see. And I'm waiting on screens and a mouse and a keyboard, so it's much easier. But I got to sort my table here. I basically have a dining room table that I'm using it on, but I've got stuff on it. So I got to like clean it out and then give myself room for a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse. But otherwise, it's going well. The pay's incredible. And the biggest kick is it's remote. So theoretically, I could go to Vegas for a month and basically work there, get an apartment, work there, go to the Strip every night, do whatever the hell I want. It would be like a month vacation. Or I could go, I'm not sure if I could go to Europe yet, but I think 6 months, 8 months down the road, I can end up going back to Amsterdam. I could go live in Amsterdam and do my work, U.S. time, Illinois, Wisconsin time, which would be during the night, I think. It'd be a little later, yeah, because I know in the football game, they start at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. It's 4 in the afternoon. So I would be working afternoon or something. I don't know. I'd have to figure out the time, but I would be working at that time. And then when I'm done, I get to enjoy that. So this is a real kicker, this remote stuff. I highly recommend it if you can. It opens up a whole, like I live in Detroit because of the auto. Now I'm basically can move to Florida or anywhere but Alabama. I could move to Florida, Vegas, or even Europe, and work there and make this kind of money. This kind of money in Europe. If I was in the Ukraine with this kind of money, I'd be I'd be the king. I could buy a real nice house for really cheap and eat like a king, and everything would be good. I would have done that I would do that if the war would end. But I'm not going to go into a war with that. So I keep telling Jenna, I says, I'm not going to move to the Ukraine. In my mind, it's a war. In her mind, I don't think it's a war. I don't think it's all. I think there's times when there's missiles, but most of the time it's quiet. And, I think they're okay. But that to me this is more my job is picking the football, talking about poker and the NBA, and then the gold and that. The teaching, that's really to me what I really love to do. I just don't, if I could make the kind of money I made, it would be remote because I know I've been in Portugal during football and I get a few gigs in Europe, and just go from there. So it can be anywhere. That's the beauty of YouTube. But that is so. Egon, there was a conference in Frankfurt. I'll do Allidstar Thursday. It's on YouTube if you want. That's what it's called. If you get a chance. Anyway, he just I showed you the conversation with Egon and Allidstar after so this is their speech. The speech, and then there was the talk after. So we've seen the talk after, and we got Allidstar's speech. She basically it's the same talk. Both are like out because it's the only thing that's real money. Where that's all it is, and you're going to get killed on it. So keep that in mind. So again, I don't know how else to tell you to get into gold because this is nothing. This is paper. It's worthless. And so you take this to buy the gold. You don't realize what you've done. You've saved your life. I mean, because this paper is going to go to zero. It's going to be worthless. You're not going to be able to eat. You can't pay your bills. And the gold's going to keep its value. And that's the bottom line. That's about as bottom line as bottom line can be. You cannot lose with gold. It won't lose its value. And when all the shit hits the fan, which is hitting soon, football last week, I went into week 1, which they have posted. I can quickly go through the line that I saw last week. I'm not looking at the lines right now. So we got Kansas City 6.5, 53 over Detroit. It's the Thursday night game. 43 against Carolina. Again, this is week 1, but we don't know all the quarterbacks and obviously if there's injuries. Baltimore 9.5, 45 against Houston. Cincinnati 2.5, 47 against Cleveland. Jacksonville 444 against Indy. Minnesota 6.5, 46 against Tampa Bay. We got New Orleans 442 against Tennessee. We got the Niners 342.5 against Pitt. We got Washington 640.5 against Arizona. We got the Bears 1.5, 44.5 against the Packers. We got Denver 3.5, 45 over who the fuck are they playing? Oakland. So be careful of the Brady quarterback. We got San Diego 2.5, 49 against Miami. We got Philly 4, 46.5 against New England. Seattle 5.5, 46 against the Rams. Dallas 3, 46 over the Giants at the Giants. Be careful. And Buffalo 2, 47 against the Jets. So my top plays superficially right now, but I haven't posted anything, is the Jets getting 8, Seattle even, Philly under, San Diego, Miami over, the Bears, Green Bay over, Pitt, Frisco under, New Orleans, Tennessee under, Mini Tampa, Minnesota, Jacksonville, Indy, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Cincinnati, under in the Houston game, under in the Carolina game, and over the Detroit game, just to name a few. Now, what are we noticing? What we noticed is who's going to be the quarterback. So if you're actually going to start the Alabama guy or CJ Stroud or Richardson, there's not going to be scoring in those games. Richardson is not going to light it up. He didn't light it up at Florida. Why would you think he's going to light up in the pros? So if Richardson, when he starts, it's under, and you bet against him. CJ Stroud, same. He'll run around for some first downs like he did against Georgia. At the end of the day, he ain't doing shit. And whatever the Alabama kid's name is, he ain't going to do shit here. He's not playing New Mexico State. And then, the teams like San Diego, Miami both have over teams based on last year, and they didn't improve via the draft. Detroit, Kansas City should be a really high-scoring game. Again, neither team improved by the draft. Denver, look for them to be much improved this year with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. Oakland, if they got Tom Brady, that's a whole different ball of wax than without Tom Brady. San Diego should be an over again. Kansas City's going to really have a tough time because they're going to be a little flat because they won the Super Bowl, so they're not as motivated. As we talk about basketball, the back's against the wall. Golden State and the Lakers game 5, and Golden State killed them. Then it got the Lakers woken up, and then they were at home, and they had to win game 6, and they did. But that's what you're looking for is Golden State. But so what you have with Kansas City is they won the ball last year. They're not motivated. So you got an unmotivated and it's not their fault. It's just you can't get motivated. Now maybe down the stretch there'll be 2 games back and there's 5 to play. They'll get motivated to get back to the Super Bowl, but early on they won't be motivated. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions beat them. I will believe I would rather take the high scoring game because I think KC's they're not going to be motivated. And there's a stat I heard when the Super Bowl team plays that first week and gets the rings, they're so into that they're not into the game. Now, I don't know how factual it is, if it means anything or not, but it does make sense that they're more concerned about getting the ring than they are about the playing. So look see if Brady plays for Oakland. That'll be huge. But I think Denver, I love the Jets. They got the defense. They got Rodgers. They got the receivers. They got the running back. They got the complete team. Do they have the coach? Is the coach good enough? But I think it's a Packer offensive coordinator. That's what Rodgers wanted and got. And the defense guys from the Niners. So he's a great defensive coach. So look for the Jets and Denver, and then Cincinnati with Joe Burrow picked up another tight end or receiver, picked up a good running back, and got some good defense. So Cincinnati will be better this year, and they were very good last year. Those are your key teams in the NFC. It's really Philly. Depends who Frisco's quarterback is. Seattle will be much, much improved. And that's really it. Well, we don't know. Minnesota's Cousins, he chokes. Love stinks. Field stinks. And Goff stinks. The whole NFC Central sucks. The NFC South is New Orleans. Otherwise, that sucks. And the East has Philly. And the West has the Niners and Seattle. So basically, that's it. So that's week 1. So Thursday we're going to talk about Allidstar's speech, which is a lot of what he's already said. There won't be a whole lot new. And that's about it. So keep watching your gold, but really we know that the prices are going up. That's about all we can say with that. We know the dollar drops because that's what the dollar does. It's paper. It's not real.
You smell what the Rock is cooking.
So we'll leave with the Rock, but basically the gold is such a no-brainer because all of this is paper. It's not money. It doesn't have a value. The little 1s and 10s and 20s of it, they don't buy shit. It's $5 for Oreos now. But in gold's terms, it hasn't gone up. The price of Orioles in gold terms haven't gone up, but in dollars have. So just remember that the dollars are paper that are worth. It's not a risk to change it into gold, to spin it into gold. Rumpelstiltskin, just take it, buy gold, put it away. Don't put it in a bank. Don't put it in a safety deposit box. You'll never get it out. Just put it in a safe. It's fairly safe in your house. I mean, who knows that you even have it? They're going to come into your house. I mean, I don't think people are going to get desperate because when their paper goes away, the question is, what are they going to get to replace it I mean, they'll be working and they'll get something and then they'll go buy food with it. But yeah, it could get a little dangerous, but I think they'll go after your house. So buy a safe, put it away, put it in your fridge or freezer, put it somewhere safe. And but you can't, first of all, if you keep it in paper, it's gonna go to zero on you. You're going to lose. That's 100% lock for sure. So if you just understand that this is zero already, it's just they don't realize it. Once they realize it, it's gone and it's going to happen real quickly. So understand this is zero. So if I can get an ounce of gold with this, it's a no-brainer. It's a lock. You can't go wrong and you'll be fine. So that's how you have to think about it. I got my money where my mouth is. I got 50 ounces of gold, 500 ounces of silver. Now, Egon said silver is a little bit, but it's in COMEX terms, it's more up and down. But I think as long as it goes 10 to 1 to gold, we're fine. And then take 10 ounces and buy gold with it, I think is prudent to do. So if you have 100 ounces, buy 10 ounces of gold with it, I think it's prudent. I'm not really looking at it as barter. I'm really not looking at it maybe to go to the grocery store with 1 ounce and cash it in for whatever the currency. Hopefully the new currency will not be paper, but actually be gold back. So it'll actually have a value. But keep that in mind. This does not have a value. This is paper. This is why I rip it. This is not worth anything. This is paper. There's no difference between this and Kleenex, right? They're both worth the same. I could write 100 on the Kleenex and see if I can take it to Kroger's and get $100 worth of food. But otherwise, that's all it is. It's all bullshit. So I believe, understand that. And that's where we're headed, where the banks are all collapsing. There's nothing that can stop them. They're going to collapse. And the foreigners have $7 trillion in the banking system. So they pull their money out because they go, shit, I don't want to lose. So they sell it. That's what's going to cause the stock market to crash and the banks to crash. It's the foreigners. It's the Chinese, the Russians, the Europeans. Brits, they're the ones who hold all the stock stuff. So keep that in mind. But just use logic. If nothing else, just use the logic, which says that's got no value. The gold does. Think of the gold as a mantle card, as a Rolex. Would you hold Rolex? So if you don't want gold, go buy a Rolex with that. Although it's going to cost you, but the Rolex will hold its value. The difference is it's 50,000, but let's say you go buy a $50,000 Rolex, I guarantee you that'll go up to 100,000 because it's priced in dollars. So again, anything priced in this is eventually this will go out. The Rolex will hold its value. The mantle card will hold its value. And that's really what you're looking at, but it's better in gold and silver than a mantle card or a Rolex, but they're all the same. They're all hard assets that are real that will keep value. And that's the protection we want, is something that's an asset that will keep its value. They tell you real estate because really a house is an asset and really will keep its value. I'm not sure about the land being as much of an asset as a house, because if I don't know what to do on the land and I haven't developed it, if I turn it into a golf course or turn it into a store or casino, the land's going to be worth. If I put it next to Caesar's Palace and put the Mirage on it, the land's going to be worth a lot. But if I don't know what to do with the land and it's just sand, it's just desert, probably not going to have a big value. And I don't know what to do with it. I'm not versed in that. So I don't know how to do that. I think when they say real estate, it's to buy a house, and then the value of the house will generally go up. But now it's overpriced. It's a lot run by the Chinese, and BlackRock, which owns a lot of houses, is going bankrupt because nobody's buying them and they're stuck. And there's costs. You got to pay taxes. You got to pay maintenance. And what you bought it for, you bought a $500,000 house, you can't get 500,000. So everything is, if they can sell it, it's being sold at a loss. And they have these continuing costs on it. So BlackRock's going out. Tesla will go out because nobody wants electric cars. And as Egon said, it won't work with electric cars and wind and solar. It's got to be fossil fuels. And oil, there's a reason that they have it, right? That it's been discovered. So with that said, I think I'm tired, so I think I'm going to end it here. I don't know what time Thursday. Normal time Saturday and Sunday as you saw me. And we will go from there. But outside of that, just go by. I don't know. Last time I went to the store last week, that guy had no gold. I bought a 10-ouncer of silver and 5 bullions. But outside of that, he had no gold at all. They said, well, if you want to put it in order, he'll order you gold. He can get it that way. And I was like, well, I don't know how long that's going to take. And he doesn't take a deposit. My guy in Ann Arbor, I remember the first thing I bought was like $12,000 worth of gold, and I gave him a $2,000 deposit. And when the gold came in, I gave him the rest. So I remember doing that, and that worked out well. So if he will buy it for me and make an order, maybe he can't. Maybe he's smaller than this guy. I don't know. I'd have to give him a visit, but I'm not looking, if I do, it's going to be 2 ounces here or 3 ounces here. I'm not looking to buy another 10 ounces. I just don't have all the big money I've already pulled the trigger on and got the gold. So this is paychecks that, okay, maybe I can buy another 2 ounces, but keep in mind, I paid $1,700 an ounce. Now I'm going to pay $2,100. And that's a whole, that's $4,000 for 2 ounces. That's a lot of money to do. It's hard to do more than 2 at a time. So I think I'll just go to the store when he has, I'll buy it and do that. Anyway, I think that's about it. Have a wonderful night. Again, we know what's going to happen. We know the banks are going to collapse. We know the dollar is going to collapse, and we know gold's going to be worth dollars going out because it has to, because it's not anything. It's just paper. And as soon as people realize that they've been had, I'm telling you now, we all know that this is phony. We know this is bullshit. We know that. We've been buying gold and silver. Most of the population doesn't realize they've been getting fucked over. Once they do, now, how do you trust the government? When has the government ever told us the truth? It's always a cover up. It's always a lie. It's always, 9/11 was, terrorist attack. It was a demolition. Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me? You could see the smoke. You can see the windows. And I showed you the one by the architects, and they said it could never fall like that. If it was, first of all, if a jet hit it, which is impossible, the fire of the jet isn't hot enough to melt the steel. It's only 700 degrees. You need 2,500 to melt the steel. So the plane could run into it and it would never melt the steel. And the steel had all these beams. It would only go a little bit down and then it would stop. It never would go like this. So it was clearly planned. It was clearly demolition. So you're going to trust these idiots? I mean, you got to be kidding. The government is the biggest bunch of criminals I've ever seen. And so you can't trust them. Just trust yourself, right? You're smart. Just use logic. I'm telling you, pure logic. As best as I can put it in English and explain it and get to the point with you. I hate people that kind of walk around the point. They'll like, today's Tuesday, but they don't say it. They like, well, yesterday was Monday and tomorrow's going to be Wednesday. And, today's Tuesday. It's like, just fucking say today's Tuesday. So I can't stand it. So there's so many people. I think the biggest problem I have is most of these gold people are stockbrokers, right? They're all stock. So they're not economists. So they don't know. They're all salesmen. That's what they are. I was watching this Lynette Zenig or whatever her name is. Oh, yeah, I used to be a stockbroker. And I'm like, yeah, I can tell. You can't trust them because they're salesmen and they have alternate interests. But in the economy, I don't have an alternate interest. I'm not selling you gold and silver. I'm trying to help you. There's nothing in it for me. The football picks is a different story, but if I don't pick winners, you don't listen to me, and then it's why listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So I do very well there, but all this other stuff is just other things that you can pull out of my brain that I know that I'm not, that I explain it, I believe, very, very good English, where you go, yeah, I can see what he's saying. I can smell what he's cooking. So anyway, that's what I want to say. So be careful. Look, this Russian war, I keep seeing where the Ukrainians are bombing them, the U.S. has got bombing them, and then I see North Korea's involved, and Turkey's involved, and Israel's involved. It's like, what the fuck's going on with this stupid war? And it's for no reason. Then I see Putin's sick. I don't know. Do you believe it? That's the other problem. Do you believe what they're telling you or not, which is really hard to determine. All I know is Russia doesn't look, it's like the Rams won the Super Bowl, but last year they sucked, and that's what Russia looks like. Yeah, they were good a couple years ago, but now they suck. So I don't know what to make of it. It's a war for the defense systems, defense companies like Raytheon to make money. That's what I'm reading here. I don't know. There's no point of it. I guess the point of the war is Russia doesn't want NATO in the Ukraine. Let's call it that, if it even is. But what's funny is the whole war is being fought in the Ukraine. They're fighting for Crimea, which is in the Ukraine, but nothing's being done in Russia. There's a few bombs going off in Moscow, but my girlfriend in St. Pete, she doesn't see anything. I go to work. I take the subway. No, we don't see anything. So if you're in St. Pete, you don't even know there's a war going on. So it's really hard. In the Ukraine, my girlfriend there, she doesn't, she knows the war's going on. The airports are closed, but she goes to the bank. She goes to the grocery store. She makes dinners. She goes to the beach. It's not like World War II where there's the bombing. Once in a while, the bombs hit her and the sirens will go off, and then the defense will blow up the bombs for her. But I think on most days, it's pretty calm and quiet, not in the middle of a war. So I don't know. That's probably why she hasn't left, but she moved her young son to Poland. The older son's in the army, so he's staying there. Anyway, I think that's about it. Have a nice day. www.teaserking.com if you need to get a hold of me. I can assure you gold will go to 50,000. Not a guess, not an estimate, I'm crazy. It's the dollar will go out. That I can guarantee you. As all currencies that aren't backed by gold go out, go to zero. That will happen. They're fighting it because if I'm JP Morgan and I have $1 billion in this paper, I don't want to lose the value of the paper. Because if the value of the paper goes to zero, 1 billion times zero is zero. I don't have anything. So I don't really want to lose this. That's what the fight's about, is them keeping the facade going. That's really what the war is. It's them keeping that because they don't want to lose the value. Now, my question is, why don't you just fucking buy gold? And then you'll make far more if you switch it into gold, because then the gold is still at 2,000 going to 50. So now you'll go with it. So why you want to hold these dollars is beyond me. Yeah, they print them, but what good is printing worthless dollars? Anyway, my family, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna have a cup of tea and just relax, turn on the TV, and I get up about 8 for work, but it's nice. I don't have to drive to work. It's a pleasure getting up, taking a shower, and getting on the computer. No rush hour. I don't waste money with gas and stuff like that. I only drive to the gym or the lake or whatever, and that's it. So it's really nice. And like I said, I can go to Vegas for a month and get an apartment and work from there if I want, or maybe Amsterdam or Switzerland or whatever. As long as I work 8 hours, I might have to work funny hours. I might have to work at midnight versus 8 in the morning, but just get my work done. I can certainly do it, but I got to be on when my boss is on, basically, or pretty much most of it. I get on at 8. She gets on at 9 because it's 8 o'clock Wisconsin. All right, everybody, have a nice day. Buy your gold, buy your silver, please. Get out of the dollar and you'll do fine. All right. Have a nice day. Take care. www.teaserking.com.